Hello and welcome to Friday's East Midlands Today with me, Sarah Hawley. And we end the week with the continued disruption and devastation across the region due to flooding caused by Storm Henk. These are images from today of the Trent Valley showing the sheer scale of the flooding. A major incident has been declared, of course, in Nottinghamshire, and many homes have been flooded. Numerous roads are still closed and huge swathes of farmland are underwater. The Environment Agency says the River Trent has reached its highest level since the year 2000. Well, tonight there are still 36 flood warnings in place across the region, most of them along the whole length of the Trent Valley, from Burton-on-Trent all the way to Newark and beyond. Many communities across the whole region have been so badly affected by the floodwaters. Many homes have been submerged, with residents now facing a big clean-up. Angela Rafferty has more.
The sheer misery caused by the rising water has been felt far and wide. Homes wrecked, families left stranded and businesses ruined.
OK, so we're going down to the cellar now, where we're having to pump this out every half an hour or so.
As the River Trent burst its banks, bringing devastation to local communities from Nottingham to Newark and beyond. Flood warnings were issued, but for many it made little difference. Most could only watch as the water began to rise and then didn't stop for days. Dave and Julie have lived in Farndon for 25 years. They've never seen their home underwater before.
You can't fight nature. We've tried to prevent the water coming in, but it's defeated us. So we've just got to live with it now until we can get sorted out.
We've seen it come over the banks, we've seen it come up the road, but never into the houses before. It's never been this bad.
It'll probably be about 6 months at least, because everywhere's got to dry out, you've got to get dehumidifiers in, etc. They'll need rewiring. At least 6 months. But who knows?
Along the river, Gunthorpe was accessed by tractor or modified vehicle only, entirely cut off by the floodwaters. A handful of volunteers helping to keep people safe. By tractor, they were bringing in food, vital medicines, even delivering one family to a funeral, a lifeline for the locals in their hour of need.
It has become an island in itself, so we're surrounded by water on both entrances to the village and exits to the village. Thankfully, we've had some very kind volunteers in the community going round, door knocking, and also, importantly, we've got access to vehicles. People pull together. It's sadness, but also a village spirit that at the times of need we all come together and help each other.
At Colic, more devastation, rewriting history. Here the worst floods they've seen for 100 years.
This is not an experience that these residents here were expecting. Kitchens flooded, back gardens which are still 1 or 2 feet deep of water. So it's been a really horrible experience for these people, and it's not over yet.
And here the ruins of the caravan park at Redhill Marina. The River Trent has flooded before and it will flood again. But for those who've seen their lives and their livelihoods devastated in recent days, a message from the government. They say they are taking the problems of repeat flooding seriously and are looking at compensation for those worst affected.
What we have not got control over as the government is the amount of rain that falls, but what we can do is be as prepared as possible. We have better protected a huge amount of homes over the last number of years, and that is only going to improve by us doubling the amount of investment from 2.6 billion over the last 5-year cycle to 5.2 billion between 2021 and 2027.
The sheer scale of devastation hard to imagine. Recovery for some will take months, the clean-up yet to begin. The hope now that a dry spell will finally deliver relief from the raging waters. Angela Rafferty, BBC East Midlands Today.
Well, as we've said, numerous roads have closed due to flooding across the region, and this was Wilford Lane in Nottinghamshire this morning. The road is closed from Compton Acres up to Ruddington Lane in both directions. The tram line is also completely underwater, with trams terminating at the Wilford Lane stop. Locals say they don't remember it being as bad as this. Is Councillor Neil Clark from Nottinghamshire County Council. Thanks for coming in. I know you've been really busy, haven't you? Can you give us the very latest? Has the River Trent peaked now?
Yes, it has peaked in the Trent Bridge area, but that peak is gradually flowing down the river and it's peaking now in the Newark area. So obviously those communities are still under threat, and then the peak will then continue downriver from there.
Yeah, and what updates do you have about the number of homes that have flooded? I think this morning we were saying 100 in Nottinghamshire. That's presumably risen, has it?
Yes, inevitably that has gone up, and we're looking in the order of 190, probably starting to approach 200, something of that order.
Yeah, it's devastating. I mean, we've spoken to people who have been flooded. What support are you giving them?
Well, the council workers are working very hard in partnership with the district councils and the emergency services. They have been evacuating people, but also where people don't necessarily want to leave, we've been delivering food, medical supplies to people who need them, and we've been working closely with those different partner agencies, of which there are many, and we've also got a rest centre available at Newark. I think there's a few people who've joined there, but some people would just prefer to go to family and friends or temporary accommodation.
Absolutely. Let's talk about flood defences. I mean, you came here, we spoke in October during Storm Babette, and we talked about flood defences, whether they're holding up. Do you think they're doing their job?
Well, yes, I mean, this rainfall was absolutely horrendous. It's very abnormal times. In actual fact, in the last 4 days, we've had 2/3 of an annual rainfall. That just gives you the scale of the volume of water that's come down.
You've actually, we heard the flooding minister in that report from Angela. You actually met him today, didn't you, to discuss more money for flood defences in our region?
Yeah, we were out there looking at the consequences of flooding in various villages and we put a bid in for more flood defence projects, and those are being considered at the moment, and obviously we're keeping our fingers crossed that we can have that extra funding to have more flood defences.
Absolutely. And just very, very briefly, you want to say thank you to everyone that's been out and about helping and supporting people, don't you?
Absolutely. Helping the council workers, but also the partner agencies, district councils, but also the local community volunteers who you saw earlier on.
Absolutely.
They've been doing a
fantastic
fantastic job.
Neil, thank you very much for coming into us and giving us that update.